Welcome to the first episode of Bearcats Mean Business, a new podcast from the University of Cincinnati's Carl H. Linder College of Business. In the episodes to come, you will hear from Linder's students, faculty, staff, alumni, supporters, and more about a range of topics, including, but not limited to, co-op, advice for prospective students and their parents, impactful faculty research, and what a typical day looks like for a Linder student. We want you to have an intimate understanding of the many exciting pathways that are possible at Linder. My name is Grant Freaking, Manager of College Communications and Marketing at Linder, and I am delighted to be your host. My first guest was a no-brainer. Now in her 5th academic year as Linder's Dean, it's Marianne Lewis. Welcome, Marianne.
Oh, thank you, Grant. It's such a pleasure to be here. And as soon as you say in my 5th year, I'm just amazed how time flies when you're having fun.
Isn't that true? This is exciting, isn't it? I mean, I'm also glad selfishly that you're here with me for this first episode, Marianne, because you are not only a veteran of public speaking, but of podcasting.
Well, I appreciate being first, too. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. I like guinea pigging and experimenting, but I also love where this podcast studio is, right in the heart of the business school, so it's great.
Well, with this being the inaugural episode, let's introduce people to Linder, shall we? The Carl H. Linder College of Business is a leading business school consistently ranked in the top 5 nationally for co-op, which is short for cooperative education. For those that may be unfamiliar, co-op entails multiple paid professional work experiences undertaken by students. Through co-op, students explore career options and build their skills, resumes, and networks. Marianne, why is co-op an essential part of what we do here at Linder, and what makes co-op at Linder so unique?
I think co-op is just so critical, Grant. I mean, because really, the more you understand the power of learning, the more I think you understand the power of experience, right? That really building this feedback loop where students learn something in the classroom, go out, try it, see what works for them specifically, and in various opportunities and instances, and then they come back and reflect, and it just goes, that's the cycle, it keeps moving. I think the other piece, I talked to so many alumni, and 201, they will say, the most important thing they did while they were here was co-op. It doesn't mean that the classes don't matter.
Right.
It's that it was out in the quote-unquote real world, they realized some of the most important things. For example, what they didn't want to do.
That was going to be one of my points.
It has to be. You know, what do you take off that infinite list of what do you want to do when you grow up, which we ask ourselves our entire lives. You just start to figure out what really excites you, what you're good at, what you don't want to be good at, and that's perfectly fine. But that experience can become so personal, and it really powers learning.
And I didn't personally co-op when I was in college, but having talked to current students and now former students, it's what you mentioned earlier. It's determining what they necessarily didn't want to do, and how that really helped them narrow down their options for their career fields, even if it's just slicing off 1 or 2 different areas of business. And it really helps them focus and kind of concentrates their interests that they build throughout being here at Linder into funneling what's best for them in their career.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'd share another aspect too. I mean, the more students have work experience or business experience, boy, does it change what you can do in a classroom. So let me give you the example. I mean, I'm a management professor. I teach leadership. Particularly with a younger and a very inexperienced class, people can read and you can talk about some of these things, and they'll say things like, isn't that obvious? And that is my sign that you haven't been out there. Right. Because unfortunately, great leadership is rare. And it's why you need to have some experiences. I mean, the number one reason people leave jobs is their boss. So how do you make more of that? And so when students have actually had those experiences, suddenly, you're teaching in an undergraduate classroom where it feels like an MBA classroom because they have the experience, and you say, okay, let's really talk about, a boss from hell. Let's get serious about what's working and what's not. And when people can say, well, let me tell you what happened in my last co-op, right? Well, in my internship last summer, I had, and now you get it on the table, and that variety matters. And it really makes it much more powerful, especially in my view, some challenging topics like management and leadership. You got to know the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that takes experience.
Well, we at Linder certainly have experience crafting tomorrow's leaders, in my opinion, and part of our mission, and perhaps the mission, is empowering business problem solvers from the moment they step on campus. When a student thinking about studying business at Linder, hears or reads business problem solving, what should they think about?
I think becoming focused on our mission of empowering business problem solvers was just like this light bulb for me. And it was a process we started the first semester I was here, really kind of getting our arms around what's our higher purpose. Because if you think about business problem solvers, actually, and I'd add the word empower, the first thing goes, what kind of problems do you want to solve? That's a really personal question. What wakes you up in the morning, gets you fired up? What keeps you awake at night? And what could you kind of skills, problem-solving skills, could you be good at using, right? I'm not a mathematical person. I know that about me. I am much more of a communicator, an innovator, but boy, I've met remarkable people who are incredibly analytical, very rigorous in their thinking. All right, I immediately can start hearing different majors, different minors, the different kind of career paths. That's really powerful, and that's the empowering piece is we have lots of options. Right?
We do.
Lots of majors, minors, that's tools, experiences, but it's about figuring out what kind of problems do you want to work on and what kind of tools do you want to get really good at using and putting those together. And I love that mix.
And from our point of view, from our faculty, it's about presenting those problems too, because the students, they're so young, they're so eager to learn, but they have their own personal problems, but they may not be thinking about business problems coming into the classroom, which is a fascinating thing to kind of watch them grow up, and we have so many great students, and so I know, as you mentioned, as an instructor, that must be a thrilling feeling for you.
It is, Grant, but the other piece I would think was as soon as you were saying that about problems, and especially when you're coming in, say you're coming in out of high school, right, you might not know what a business problem is versus a personal problem. I think this has been, I've been studying my work for about 25 years. I study tensions and competing demands, and I was always studying very business strategy problems. And the more I got into them, the more I realized the business problems I was working on are human problems. They're life problems. All right, so I'll give you an example. One of the really challenging things that very senior leaders have to focus on is this tension between short-term, long-term. Right? What do I do today versus what do I really dream about for tomorrow?
Constant balance.
The balance. But that's a human problem. I mean, you need that. What am I going to spend my time doing, right, today? What am I going to work on in terms of putting my head down and getting things done to do my classes today versus dreaming and preparing for tomorrow? We will deal with short-term, long-term tensions our entire lives. So I think there are a host of business problems that you don't have to be in a big corporation. You could be in a nonprofit. You could be sitting at home and you would face the same kind of problems. So empowering business problem solvers is really a way to empower people in all walks of their life and in our society at large.
Well, speaking of future problem solvers, Marion, you are constantly in front of current students at a wide variety of Linder engagements. What are some of the common explanations students provide to you as to why they selected Linder?
It varies, certainly, Grant. I mean, I'm a big believer that choosing your university is a vital and very personal decision because it's about fit. And I think a big piece of it comes back to our prior discussion around co-op, right? They see an opportunity. They come here because they say, I want to try it out. I want to figure out what I want to do. I think, though, it goes beyond that. I mean, when we talk about co-op and work study opportunities, we're also talking about just broader experiential learning. You don't come to Linder if you want to be in an ivory tower, because that's not who we are, right? We're a place where we want to roll up your sleeves and try things out. It's why we send so many students overseas for study abroad. We now do domestic travel, which we call study away. We do projects in the classrooms. All of these things are about practice.
Right.
And feed that feedback and learning loop of, say, have an experience, see what worked, what didn't, reflect on it, try it again, right? And I think a lot of students come to us because they say, I don't know what I don't know, and the best way to learn is through experience. I also certainly think they come to us because of the variety of disciplines, majors, minors, areas of interest. I mean, we're incredibly good at, for example, analytics. We're one of the very best in the country. Same with marketing. We've got the 4th largest marketing program in the country, but we're sitting in Procter & Gamble's backyard. That makes great sense. Mm-hmm. And I could give you kind of a whole laundry list of options for things you could study in Linder and across this campus. But the beauty is it's up to the students to start figuring that out. And unlike most business schools, we do two things in addition to co-op that are really unique. One grant is our students start in business day one, and that matters.
First year experience.
First year experience. Just hit the ground running, start to build those skills, start to explore. It doesn't mean, for those listening, we don't care about the liberal arts. We absolutely do. I mean, we think you need all sorts of different kinds of insights to build a well-rounded you for the future. But the sooner you start in the business, the more opportunities you have. So you start day one. I think the other piece is, unlike most places, nearly all of our students are double majored. I mean, our students who really get started early, they have 2 majors, a minor, they've co-opted and studied. The earlier you start figuring out, ooh, what do I want to do, the more you can take advantage of what we have. And I love that. It's a launching pad.
Perfect. That dovetails perfectly into my next point and question for you is pathways, flexible pathways to be specific. The cover story of the 2023 issue of Portfolio, Linder's annual magazine, explored the idea of all roads leading to Linder. Writing that story, I was particularly intrigued by the notion of how the road less traveled, one marked by twists and turns, is absolutely the norm for college students. As you and I both know, Marianne, students from a range of backgrounds, locations, and stages in their lives turn to Linder. What does that mean for us to be able to accommodate that wide mix of students and who come from us from all these different directions?
I think it's a few things, and maybe before I share kind of those paths, I think one of the ahas, and for those of you who don't know my background, I was here for 18 years. I led our undergraduate program. I then did a Fulbright in London and then became a dean in London for 4 years. And while I was there, I was served on a number of groups that I basically had the privilege of studying and visiting business schools around the world. And particularly outside of the U.S., but even sometimes in the U.S., I found how very much most programs you get locked in early. And it was one of the many things that drew me back to UC and to Linder, because I do not think that is in a student's best interest. When I left for London, I remember a stat, and I don't know what it is today, that the average undergraduate student changes majors 5 times.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, well, let's see if we can't get through 4 of those your first year, right? But that means that takes some real work. And if we lock you in and you have to start over, well, what a horrible waste of time, money.
Setting up both parties to fail.
Everything, right? So I'll go back to kind of how do the pathways work? Because I love the flexibility of our pathways. It's something we continue to innovate and build on here at Linder. And it fits into the experiential piece as well. So, you start out that first year experience. You're working on project strategy, which means everyone is in a small team. They're working with a company. They're doing a SWOT analysis, which is a strategy kind of approach. And say you start to think, oh, I really like the marketing side. I like these questions I'm asking about the customers and the markets. And okay, here I am at UC, P&G's backyard, giant fabulous marketing program. I'm going to start in marketing. That's great. You do that first co-op and you come back and say, oh, I like marketing, but I don't know that I liked exactly what I was doing. I like, I'm playing with marketing. I mean, marketing is a huge tent. So Now maybe I'm figuring out, you know what? I'm the analytical, rigorous type. I'm going to add, say, a double major in business analytics or economics, and I am really going to go into market research, and I'm going to get into that nitty-gritty of the power of big data. Or you come back and you realize, I love the creativity. Well, now maybe I'm going to go to CCM and digital media. Maybe I'm going to go thinking about DAP and some of the design.
Or dabble in entrepreneurship.
And get exactly, right? What I'm doing. Or, the mind of the consumer. Now maybe I'm going to go into anthropology or psychology. I mean, that's where the world is your oyster truly opens up, but you don't even know where you might explore until you start taking steps forward. And then they start to veer. And now that path less taken is your path, because every step is a little bit different because you're trying things out. And you might take a step backwards because something didn't work. Totally fine. This is where you do it. This is where you experiment. Mm-hmm. And I love that.
And I think prospective students and current students can take comfort in the fact that there is maybe someone who doesn't have the identical journey to them, but someone whose journey is very similar. And I'm talking about transfer students, transition students, international students, students who might be parents, students in the military, any number of areas that they come from. There is a group for them, whether it's at Linder or a UC group that can support them, and we're also here to support them as well. So I think it's just, having spent the last 2.5 years storytelling on behalf of the Linder College of Business and meeting all these different students as well as staff and faculty, it's just a constant, it feeds the engine of storytelling, talking to these different students, and it's such a great thing. Speaking of portfolio, which we touched on just a second ago, Assistant Dean for Inclusive Excellence, Nick Castro, wrote in his annual State of Inclusive Excellence column that the recent academic year was one of, quote, explosive engagement by Linder staff, students, and faculty. Now, there are so many ways in which Linder supports and drives inclusive excellence, whether it's through student programs like Business Fellows, single-day events like Linder Women in Businesses Empowerment Day, to high school programs, notably Withrow Pathway to Linder, or the recently announced RDI Entrepreneurship Program at St. Ursula Academy. How would you characterize Linder's philosophy on inclusive excellence in making sure all of our students, staff, and faculty feel welcome here?
I love what we do in inclusive excellence. I so value Assistant Dean Nick Castro and the whole team and everybody involved. I mean, I think there are a couple of pieces to inclusive excellence, right? I'm going to talk about kind of maybe the why first and then the how. I think in terms of the why, there's a reason why I've always just deeply valued the label that we've used of inclusive excellence, because I do study tensions and even paradoxes, and I believe both of those terms are absolutely critical. Let's start with the excellence. Mm-hmm. The higher the bar we hold, the better students will do. I've seen it all my life. I believe in it fervently. From tough love to great challenges, excellence matters. We will never lower that bar because it is absolutely what is best for students. Then you add the inclusive. You've got to have a place that you feel safe, you feel like you belong, you feel like you've got the support. Because if the bar is that high, you will fail at times. And that's actually kind of part of the process. It's important. It's okay. We want to build your confidence, your resilience, your skills through this process. So inclusion means you know your people, you've got places and your team around you, from your advisor and your career coach to different student organizations that you just mentioned some of, so that you have people who are going along the journey with you but are also supporting you. And that to me is both the why is we need to be inclusive, to have the power of belonging and support. We need the bar high, that is the excellence. And the how is through lots of efforts to build smaller places in a great big university where you're known by name, you know what matters, you know you're cared about. And I think those two pieces just work really well together.
I think that's well said, and something I think about when it comes to not only inclusive excellence, but also just in general is listening to our students and hearing about their experiences, because as we touched on earlier, the different pathways, everyone comes in here with a different background, a different personal history. And I like to think we do a pretty good job of listening to our students, but there's always room for improvement. And as you mentioned, we strive to keep that high bar and work to make sure that all of our students feel welcomed.
Yeah. Well, and as you say that, obviously, people like us, our faculty, staff, I mean, we're here every day because we're committed to our students. And we know that our students will listen as much or probably more to other students than anybody else. So the more we have student ambassadors, student leaders, other people in all of the organizations around inclusive excellence that are there for each other, I think that just takes everybody further.
Right. And those students happen to be instructed by some tremendous faculty. Linder faculty are continuously producing research that impacts not only the business world, but our daily lives. They communicate the applications of their work not only to our students, who often work alongside our faculty, but to industry leaders, academic publications, to media. Can you explain to our audience just how vital it is for Linder to have engaged faculty experts?
Oh, it is so critical. I mean, and I understand what some people will say. Does it matter that you're a Research One, Carnegie Research One university? I don't even know what that means. Oh, it means a lot. I mean, the value of being a research institution means that your faculty are creating knowledge, not just disseminating it. So it means that we're not just teaching out of a textbook, we're writing the textbook, we're studying what's going on in organizations and in the world, and pushing that envelope of what's new. Because the world is always changing. I mean, it's the one constant is change. And so having people that are the faculty as researchers means that they are always learning so that they can help their students learn. And that loop is really critical. I mean, I've said it before, but it matters to me as whether I'm dean or not, that I'm continuing to research and to teach because I see them working hand in glove. When I'm doing my research and I'm studying organizations and I'm learning and working with executives, I bring that right back into the classroom. And I can assure you, when I'm in the classroom, I'm learning what's working and what's not working from the students, and it's changing my research questions, and then it kind of goes back into my research. And as a leader, and this is probably also because I study leadership, I get to practice it, which is phenomenal. And so then all these pieces, really do work like a puzzle, but also maybe better like an engine fueling each other. And I love that the faculty here, those that are doing the more traditional academic research are pushing the envelope, but we also have phenomenal educators who I consider professors of practice, who have great industry experience that they bring into the classroom, and then they continue to build by working with executives externally.
And they bring that experience from the real world into the classroom by then not only teaching from the textbook or from the source text of what the class is about, but also by these projects, these experiential learning that occurs both. I've walked around Linder Hall and seen various experiments, even though in the business college you can, have those science type experiments that happen throughout the way, and it's so cool to see.
Well, you're absolutely right. And the other thing I always love, and the Linder Hall, the new Linder Hall that we opened in 2019 is such a game changer, but we have visitors in this building every single day.
We do.
And it's phenomenal, right? And they're in the classroom, they're sharing what I consider living case studies, right? I kind of grew up, my father was at Harvard and they use case studies, and I think I'll take our case studies over theirs any day because you've got someone actually giving you the messy, true story. It's not just a simplified version that's been written down. And I think that's great.
Marian, before we wrap up, are there any other distinctions about Linder that our listeners should be aware of?
Grant, one of the things that I've really come to appreciate is Cincinnati. I love being an urban institution. We have a phenomenal business community. They are so engaged. It's what helps us always have visitors in this building. But it's also just helped me understand you wouldn't study oceanography in a cornfield, and I sure think you don't study business there either, because it lets you do so much more. Well
said. Well, that's all the time that we have. Thank you to Dean Marian Lewis for being our guest today. Remember, you can listen to Bearcats Mean Business on Spotify, YouTube, or Amazon Music. Stay tuned for our next episode, where I'll speak to a member of Linder's undergraduate admissions office and a current student about all things admissions and applying to Linder. So long for now.